Chapter 8. The journey along the path up to the takeoff strip did not take long. Kevin saw to that. He whisper-shouted insults all the way. In his mind, it was encouragement, and nobody seemed to care. At the top of the hill, the group was met with a break in the trees. A Ford Transit, a pile of freshly cut undergrowth, 2 men, and a long strip of clear ground. Tony and Paul stood at the edge of the clearing. "Well, Kevin, that looks like a good crew. I hope they're all ready for this." Tony scanned the group. "Jesus, Belly, don't tell me you've joined them too. You do know what they're up to, don't you?" "Yeah. When I heard you two were involved, I said I'd tag along. Always wanted to get a good look at outer space." "Hope it's worth it. It's a risky thing to do." Faf took a step backwards. "Risky? Hold on, Kevin. You didn't say it'd be risky." Sandra was the first to respond. "No, he didn't. And just because a stranger says it is, doesn't mean anything. For all we know, they are shape-shifting enemies of humanity." Tony laughed loudly, followed seconds later by Paul. "Don't worry, we're not shapeshifters." "That's for me to decide." "You can decide what you like, but it's not true. We work for NASA." "Yeah, that's right, NASA." Sandra looked unimpressed. "That's true. Then how come the pair of you are down here and not in outer space? Or faking another moon landing?" Martina grabbed Sandra by the elbow. "Just ignore them. We're trying to save the world." Sandra didn't reply, and instead fixed an unblinking stare at the 2 crusties/astronauts/shapeshifters. "Right, Kevin, we're off. Best of luck to you and your friends." Tony and Paul stepped around the group and in the direction of the makeshift car park. "Wait, lads. Will you just hang on to go through the settings?" "Don't think you have time, Kevin. Those aliens have had a head start on you. Do you know anywhere nearby that does breakfast?" "Hold on. None of us have been to space before. Well, maybe Sandra. But definitely not using a hyperdrive." Martina, Pa, Billy and Sandra walked out into the clearing, hoping to get a good look at the spaceship. Sandra kept a wary eye on the 2 strangers as she moved. Kevin stood in front of Tony and Paul, blocking their way. "Look, our work is done now." "Yeah. Think of it like when we met you earlier, when I got a cigarette paper off you." "Good man, Tony. That's a great way of explaining space travel to the lad. So, when you gave us the tobacco, Kevin, it was exactly like us fixing the driver's side window." "That's right. And the lighter you gave us is the superluminal hyperdrive. Well, a superluminal hyperdrive would make one hell of a lighter. But you get the idea. What we're saying is, we're not going to smoke it for you." "Huh?" "That's the spirit, Kevin. Everybody has to start somewhere. You'll pick it up in no time." But how do I work the hyperdrive?" "We left instructions on the steering wheel. And besides, you have the CPU to help you." "Yeah, Tony's right. You did well when you picked that chip." "Huh? What do you mean?" "That processor you picked up. It's a well-known fact that all those first-generation Mega Drives were self-aware. That's why they got replaced. You know how it is with these things. If you need help, you should ask. Bye now." Tony and Paul brushed past Kevin and continued on between the trees. Kevin stared out towards the van parked at one end of the clearing. The rest of the crew had gathered beside it. Despite the darkness, he could tell they were unimpressed. He joined them, and Pa said what they were all thinking. "That's the spaceship?" "Yes." "My Ford Transit?" "Yes." "I thought it'd be something a bit better. How much diesel will we need to drive to space?" "None. The van is just housing for a superluminal drive." "Oh, okay. And you're sure it's going to work?" "Probably." Kevin walked importantly around the van, opening every door as he went. He paced to the middle of the clearing and stared briefly up at the sky. The rest of the group followed his eyes. He then went back over to the rear doors of the van. Right, Sandra, Faf, Billy, in here. Pa, you and Martina are in the cab. I'm the pilot. Sandra was first to climb in, followed by Faf. Lads, I'm scared. Billy was next. You fucking should be, mate. You're going into space in a homemade rocket. Are there any tunes in this thing, Kevin? We can't go without songs, yeah? Kevin reached into the passenger seat well, pulled out a stereo and handed it to Billy. Just this Walkman. Belongs to Martina. What's in it? I don't know. Last Train to Last, I think. Is there nothing else? No, that's it. Now keep your feet in, lads. And whatever you do, don't touch this door till I open it. Kevin got no reply. Billy already had the stereo on. Faf was listening to Sandra, who was now loudly explaining time travel. Martina and Pa climbed into the cab, and Kevin joined them. There was a note stuck to the wheel. Martina pointed to it. What's that about? The lads left instructions for the hyperdrive. Can't be too hard to work if that's all the notes there is. What's it say? Turn key to start. That's all? Yeah, that's it. Kevin glanced down at the Mega Drive, which had been wired into the van's electric system. A red light showed it was running. The cab was silent, except for Sandra's muffled voice escaping from the back. Kevin turned and knocked on the partition. Is everyone ready back there? What? Came the muffled reply. I said, are you ready back there? Huh, can you drop me off at the main road? I'll hitch the rest of the way. Kevin ignored the request and bent forward. He peered up at the sky and then at Martina and Pa. Well, lads, this is it. They both nodded. Kev, said Martina quietly, if this doesn't work out, I just want you to know. I suppose all humans would want you to know. Well, like, you did your best. It's a fair play. Thanks. Kevin found himself instinctively checking the wing mirrors and turned the ignition. Nothing happened. Shit! He turned the ignition again. Nothing happened again. Fuck! He turned the ignition for a third time. Clump! The van was instantly transported to the middle of a giant steel room. The floor was the size of a football pitch. The walls were white and over 30 feet tall. Everything was illuminated. On one side was an enormous window. Beyond it was Earth. Thousands of light streaks flickered across the surface of the planet. These were followed by flashes, which bloomed and then disappeared. It was a thriving orb of chaos, set in stark contrast to the vast silence beyond. Fuck. Paul and Tony know their stuff. What's this place, Kev? It must be a hangar for the alien fighters. Two of the walls opened into giant corridors leading away from the room. It was silent. Apart from a handful of box-shaped robots scuttling back and forth across the floor of the room, it was also empty. Where's everyone? All fighting humans, I suppose. They probably just leave robots to run the place. One of the small box-shaped robots approached the van carrying a length of hose. Pa and Martina ducked behind the dashboard, but Kevin didn't move. The robot paused as it got near, turned, and scuttled away. Pa watched it go. It's as if we don't exist. Well, we don't. At least as far as that thing is concerned. Robots don't know anything outside of what's been programmed into them, which is bound to be just a load of alien stuff. I'm pretty sure the form of a Ford Transit is not in their code. Pa smiled and moved to open the passenger door. Great. On so, lads. Let's do this quickly. Kevin's arm shot across the van and grabbed the lock. What the fuck are you doing? How do you know that the air is breathable? For all we know, extraterrestrials breathe cyanide. Keep that closed. Okay, Kevin. But what are we going to do now then? Pa had no sooner finished asking the question when a face appeared at the window. It was Billy Durant, who was gesturing at the headphones on his ears and giving the thumbs up sign. Kevin rolled the newly installed window down. He needn't have bothered. Billy was roaring at the top of his voice. Is this your CD, Martina? fucking great tunes for the night that's in it. They go perfect with the visuals. Billy pointed to the view of Earth and its starry backdrop and grinned. Jesus, Billy, you put the heart sideways on me. Me too. Take it easy and stop shouting, will you, Billy? We're supposed to be on a mission. Can't hear you, mate. The music's too loud. Billy turned and wandered off into one of the corridors leading from the room. Kevin stepped out of the van and signalled for the others to follow. Right so, I suppose that proves the air is breathable. All we need to do now is save the human race.